Hello there everyone, I hope that you are all keeping well. This is a video that is created specifically for you to help you with your ILT course that you are having and to finish the last short story discussion as most of you were practically absent last time. So in this first video we'll be discussing the historical and the social backgrounds related to the short story Charles written by Shirley Jackson. We will be focusing upon the relation of the theme in the story to her life and her opinion about the 1940s family life. And we will try to contextualize the short story within the scope of the Second World War and the idea of the aftermath, and also concentrate mainly on the psychological aspect of the main character and try to interpret our story here by reference to the psychoanalytic and the historical readings as the both the historical and the psychoanalytic readings will pave us the way to speak about the author's style of writing and understand some elements and aspects in the story. So let's get started. After the Second World War, everything has been destroyed from culture to the social ethics to family relationships to the individual psyche and behavior themselves. Domestic violence increased because of the psychological breakdown and trauma of the war. Here, failings in life became easily to blame on some real or imagined traumatic episodes, and trauma paved the way to find excuse to blame anyone other than oneself for one's problems. So here, the aftermath of the Second World War caused not only physical but also psychological deformity and shock that led to mental illnesses and disorders. In her, the Second World War, A People's History from 2001, Joanna Brooke explains that the 21st century violence in most of the European countries or America itself is the result of the Second World War legacy. Most people around the world uh, were forced to either to live with the trauma of losing their loved ones, either by being dead or missing, with no jobs or homes left. And physical deformities stood a witness to what they have gone through. But unfortunately, they faced and suffered from invisible scars that were known and defined as psychological trauma, similar to anxiety, nightmare, and the feeling of guilt when surviving, questioning the reason behind their survival while the other loved ones and innocent ones did not. What added insult to injury is that both America and Britain promised their citizens of social solidarity, but unfortunately none of this was realized or sought. The economic boom in America, for example, was massive and promising. It depicted the development of the American society on the surface of things. And it's true that by the end of 1945, most American people and also British people were recruited to either uh, full or part-time jobs that could help them pay their rents and bills. Yet on the other underside of things, America and Britain and other parts of Europe and Asia mostly were suffering from famine, homelessness, beggary out of extreme poverty, illiteracy, unemployment, and orphancy, along with some social phenomena that forced them to either commit illegal acts similar to um, murder, stealing for food or medicine, or commit suicide out of despair. The social phenomena and issues that were caused by the war um, were not the end of the story. The historical as well as the social post war atmosphere is highly attached to another profound aspect that flipped people's lives upside down. The psychological malformed character started to surface in the personality disorders that were characterized and diagnosed in soldiers and the military people's odd behaviors. Most soldiers who survived the war started to hallucinate and recall the shocking images and the bloody episodes of the people who died and their friends who got either killed or tortured to death. These shocking experiences were also transferred to the ordinary people, to children and husbands, wives and parents who lost their loved ones and were forced to survive with the trauma of them repicturing their past lives and adapting themselves to a whole new atmosphere where family members, homes, and jobs vanished forever. Some people could manage to live and get through those experiences and losses, while others could not. In her 1948 short story Charles, Shirley Jackson characterized the psychological and emotional wound in the everyday experience of a child in kindergarten. He starts to go to kindergarten to learn and make friends. His stepping outside of the house changes the course of events in his parents' lives and in the story itself. Here I wish to highlight that the writer herself was a mother of four, and both a housewife and a full-time writer, whose passion towards being a storyteller caused her the feeling of omitting and neglecting her duties as a housewife. The writer here depicted a typical American family life, which is yet experiencing responsibility for the first time. As being green in the field, both parents are trying to learn the better ways to raise children and how to fulfill this duty and be a devoted parent. Shirley Jackson wrote us an autobiographical family sitcom or a domestic comedy where she referred to herself and represents herself by trying to prove to her husband and to the social and the cultural traditions of that era that the post war female could be as powerful and devoted in her duties as men were. She wanted to break free from the rules of that era, specifically which denoted that women were just made to bear children and do the usual domestic chores similar to cleaning and cooking. She characterized Laurie's mother as a naive woman, giving birth and raising a child who is more clever than his parents. Laurie's mother depicts a conventional female-like image, whose romantic opinions about life and society, where everything is ideal or perfect, were no longer the same. During and after World War II, the role of women have dramatically changed. Women were obliged to take over the course of things when all men have been recruited to war. For example, some women joined the army as well, and some other women held men's jobs in society. Laurie's mother here is a stereotype of the subjugated and marginalized female character, whose understanding is reduced only to the everyday routine. And Shirley Jackson tried to appreciate the housewife's efforts in the home, on the one hand, as she refers to her own life and described the everyday family life, but she decries and denies neglecting as well as ignorant females whose relation and knowledge of the outside changing world is almost non-existent. So she encouraged women to stand for their rights and claim what is theirs, as they have already proven themselves responsible during the difficult situations of the war. So this is all for now. I hope you find this useful, and if you have any questions or comments, please contact me on my email or leave a comment in the comment section below. Concerning the psychological reading of the short story, I'll try to provide you with the second video soon. Goodbye.